The fear? It began on a Tuesday that behaved suspiciously like a Monday. In the small town of Chromatum, nobody locked their doors, not because they were brave, but because even thieves complained that the town was too boring to rob. Dogs slept in the middle of roads. Roosters crowed whenever they felt emotionally ready. And fear. Fear had a schedule? Yes, fear had a schedule. Every evening at exactly 6:13 p.m., fear arrived like a respected government official. It would visit randomly selected households, cause mild panic, steal confidence for a few minutes, then leave politely before dinner. People got used to it. That was life in Chromatum. Until the day fear didn't show up. At first, nobody noticed. At 6:07 p.m., Ama Serwa was arguing with her stew pot because it refused to boil faster. Kojo Mensa was teaching his goat how to dance azanto, and old Mr. Bidioko was shouting at his radio because it kept predicting sunshine instead of rain, even though it had never been right in its entire existence. But by 6:45 p.m., something felt wrong. Ama Serwa paused mid-argument with her stew pot. "Why is my heart so relaxed?" she asked herself suspiciously. Kojo's goat stopped dancing and looked offended. Even Mr. Budiako lowered his voice and whispered, "Why is nothing going wrong today?" That was the moment panic began knocking politely. Fear had not arrived, and in Chromatum, that was more terrifying than fear itself. At exactly 7:02 p.m., the town hall bell rang on its own. Nobody touched it. Nobody was near it. It rang like it had urgent gossip to share. The mayor, a man who had once been scared of his own reflection for 3 days, climbed the shaky wooden podium. "Citizens," he announced, adjusting his trembling glasses, "fear is missing." A woman in the crowd gasped. "Missing like stolen?" A man replied, "or missing like it resigned." Nobody knew which option was worse. Then suddenly, from the back of the crowd, a boy shouted, "Maybe fear is sick." Everyone turned slowly. Silence followed. Then someone whispered, "Can fear even get sick?" Nobody had ever considered fear as something that could have health issues. It was always the one causing them. That night, strange things began happening. Children slept without checking under their beds. Farmers went to their fields without overthinking every shadow. Even the town's most paranoid man, Kofi, what if Agikom, slept with both eyes closed? And that was the first real sign that something was deeply, cosmically wrong. Because peace was too loud. At 11:13 p.m., Kojo Mensa woke up screaming. Not because something scared him, but because nothing did. He rushed outside wearing one shoe and holding a broom like a sword. "This is not normal," he shouted into the night. A stray cat stared at him, unimpressed. "Meow," it said, which roughly translated to relax. But Kojo was not relaxing. By midnight, a secret town emergency meeting was called under the giant mango tree, which was technically the unofficial parliament of Chromatum. Mr. Bediako stood on a broken plastic chair. "I propose we search for fear," he said dramatically. Ama Serwa raised her hand. "How do you search for something that usually finds us?" Silence. Then Kojo whispered, "What if fear is avoiding us?" That statement caused immediate chaos. People began arguing. If fear is avoiding us, does that mean we are more scary now? Are less important? Or did we offend fear? At the mention of offending fear, everyone became quiet again, because nobody wanted to be on the wrong side of fear's feelings. Suddenly, a loud rustling came from the bush nearby. Everyone froze. The wind stopped. Even the goat stopped chewing. Out stepped a small boy no one recognized. He wore oversized slippers and carried a rusty metal bucket. "I know where fear is," he said calmly. The entire town leaned forward. Even the mango tree seemed to listen. The mayor cleared his throat. "And where is fear?" The boy smiled. "Fear is hiding because it is afraid of something worse." A long silence followed. Then someone screamed, "Fear is afraid." The boy nodded. "And if fear is afraid," he added slowly, "then whatever it is afraid of is now free." At that exact moment, the wind returned, but it was different. Colder, heavier. Like something unseen had just realized it was no longer being watched. And far in the distance, something laughed, but not a human laugh, not an animal laugh, something else. Something that sounded like fear learning a new name. Nobody moved, not because they were brave, but because their legs had quietly resigned. The boy stood there, holding his rusty bucket like it contained the secrets of the universe. Or possibly groundnuts. His face was calm. Too calm for someone who had just announced that fear itself was afraid. The mayor swallowed loudly. Young. Small. Human, he began carefully. Explain yourself before my heartbeat files a complaint. The boy tilted his head. You all depended on fear, didn't you? Kojo raised his hand immediately. Yes, fear reminds me not to greet strangers who look like they greet back too quickly. Ama Surwa added, fear helps me know when my stew is about to burn. Mr. Bidiako nodded seriously. Fear keeps me from trusting my radio. The boy sighed. Exactly. Fear was doing too much work, and then it met something that does more. A murmur spread through the crowd like gossip with legs. More than fear, someone whispered. That thing, the boy continued, pointing vaguely into the darkness beyond the mango tree, doesn't visit. It stays. Silence. Even the night insects paused, as if they too had suddenly remembered an urgent appointment somewhere else. Kojo stepped forward, gripping his broom like a national weapon. What does it want? The boy smiled again, but this time it didn't look friendly. It doesn't want anything, he said. That's the problem. Now that was disturbing, because wanting something at least made sense. Even fear wanted something. It wanted your attention, your caution, your respect. But something that wanted nothing? That was dangerous. Amasurwa crossed her arms. So what does it do? The boy looked around slowly, as if checking whether the darkness was listening. It removes, he said quietly. Removes what? The mayor asked. The boy leaned closer. Meaning. The word dropped into the crowd like a stone into still water. Nobody spoke. Nobody even blinked. Then Kojo blinked twice, just to test if blinking still worked. So, you're telling us, Mr. Bidiako said slowly, there is something in our town that doesn't scare us.
Doesn't chase us.
But removes meaning? The boy nodded. And fear ran away from it?
Yes.
A long pause. Then Amasurwa said, that is very disrespectful. And somehow that broke the tension just enough for people to breathe again, but only slightly. Because now the questions were louder than ever. Where is it? How do we stop it? Can it cook? Nobody answered the last question. Suddenly, the bucket the boy was holding made a soft metallic sound. Clink. Everyone jumped. Even the mango tree shook a little. Which trees are not supposed to do unless they are involved in something suspicious. What's in the bucket? Kojo asked, stepping back instead of forward. The boy looked down at it, then back up.
Proof.
Before anyone could stop him, he slowly turned the bucket upside down. Nothing fell out, nothing at all. But that was the problem, because everyone expected something, anything. Even a lizard would have been acceptable. But there was nothing. And yet, something felt missing. Amasurwa blinked. What was I just thinking about? Mr. Bidiako frowned. I don't remember what I was about to say. Kojo looked at his broom. Why am I holding this? A quiet panic spread. Not loud, not dramatic, just a soft, creeping realization that thoughts were slipping away like water through fingers. The boy nodded slowly. It started. The mayor grabbed his head. Started what? The removal. At that exact moment, a loud crash echoed from the edge of town. Everyone turned. A wooden stall had collapsed, but not in a normal way. It didn't break. It didn't fall. I just stopped being a stall. One moment, it was there. The next moment, it was just not. In its place was empty space, as if the idea of the stall had been deleted. Kojo whispered, No, 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 no. That stall owes me money. Amasurwa grabbed his arm. This is serious. I know, that's why I'm worried. The boy pointed toward the darkness again. It's moving closer. How do you know? The mayor asked, his voice shaking. The boy smiled faintly. Because you're starting to forget what you're afraid of. That hit harder than anything else. Because it was true. Moments ago, they were terrified. No, they weren't sure why. And that was worse. Far worse. Fear at least made sense. But this? This was like being erased slowly, politely, without even being asked. Mr. Bediako suddenly snapped his fingers. We need to find fear. Everyone turned to him. Yes, he continued, gaining confidence. If fear is afraid of this thing, then fear understands it. And if we find fear, we can ask it how to stop this, Amasurwa finished. Kojo raised his broom again. Yes, we rescue fear. The mayor hesitated. We are going to rescue fear. There was a moment of reflection. Then everyone nodded. Because at this point it made perfect nonsense. The boy stepped back into the shadows. You won't find fear easily, he said. It's hiding somewhere, even if doesn't understand. Kojo squinted. That sentence is confusing. It's supposed to be, the boy replied. And with that, he turned and began walking into the darkness. Wait, Amasurwa called. Who are you? The boy paused. Just for a second. Then he answered without turning around, I'm what fear forgot. And then he was gone. No footsteps, no sound, just absence. The wind picked up again, colder than before, and somewhere far away. That same strange laughter echoed again, only this time. It sounded closer. By morning, Chromatum looked normal. That was the first problem. The sun rose exactly where it was supposed to. Roosters crowed like unpaid alarm clocks. The dusty road stretched lazily between houses as if nothing had happened. But something had, and everyone could feel it, even if they couldn't fully remember what it was. Amasurwa stood outside her kitchen. Holding a spoon over an empty pot, she frowned. I came here to cook, she said slowly. Pause. Cook what? She stared into the pot as if the answer might climb out and introduce itself. It didn't. Across the road, Kojo Mensa was mid-conversation with his goat. Listen, he said seriously. We are going somewhere important. The goat blinked. Kojo nodded. Yes, important. Pause. Where are we going? The goat turned and walked away, clearly unwilling to participate in confusion at the mango tree. The mayor had gathered whoever still remembered there was a meeting, which, unfortunately, was not everyone. Mr. Bediako stood on his usual broken plastic chair, pointing at nothing in particular. We had a plan. He declared silence. A woman raised her hand. What plan? Mr. Bediako opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. It was a good plan, he said finally. The mayor rubbed his temples. Think. We were going to do something about something. Kojo arrived, slightly out of breath and still holding his broom. I remember, he shouted. Everyone leaned forward. We were going to. He froze. We were going to. Go where? Amasurwa asked. Kojo pointed confidently into the distance. There they all turned to look. There looked very unhelpful, just trees. A path, a suspiciously normal breeze, but then a faint ripple passed through the air, like heat, but colder. Like silence, but louder. And suddenly, the memory hit them all at once. Fear? They shouted together. The words snapped back into their minds like it had been waiting outside politely.
Yes.
The mayor exclaimed. We're looking for fear. Kojo nodded aggressively. Yes, fear is missing. Or hiding. Or avoiding us. Or something very complicated. Amasurwa tightened her grip on her spoon. Then why are we standing here like confused statues? Let's go, before we forget again. That was all the motivation they needed. The group, small, determined, and slightly disorganized, set off down the path. The deeper they walked, the quieter the world became. Not peaceful quiet, uncomfortable quiet. The kind of quiet that made your thoughts sound too loud. before they started disappearing. Birds stopped mid-song, leaves stopped mid-rustle. Even Kojo's footsteps seemed unsure whether they should continue. "This place is not friendly," he whispered. "No," Mr. Bediako agreed.
It.
Uninterested, that word settled badly. But something that didn't care? How do you fight something that isn't even paying attention to you? They walked for what felt like hours.
Or minutes.
Or something in between that nobody could properly measure anymore. Then they found it, or rather, they found where something used to be. In the middle of a clearing stood a house. Except it wasn't fully a house. Half of it existed, the other half didn't. Not broken, not destroyed, just missing, like someone had erased it and forgotten to feel guilty. Kojo stopped walking immediately. "No, I don't like half houses. Full houses only." Ama Surwa stepped closer. "This is where it's been? How do you know?" the mayor asked. She pointed. On the ground were footprints, but they didn't lead to the house. They led away from it. Running, fast, uneven. Panicked, Mr. Bedioko's eyes widened. "Those are Fear's footprints." Everyone stared at him. "You recognize Fear's footprints?" Kojo asked. Mr. Bediako nodded confidently. "Fear walks like it has somewhere to be urgently." That was oddly convincing. They followed the footprints. Each step felt heavier than the last. And the air. The air was wrong. Not thick, not thin, just less like breathing was becoming optional. Suddenly, Kojo stopped. "Wait," he said slowly. Everyone froze. "What?" "Amma?" Sarwa asked. Kojo looked around. "I just forgot why we're walking." Silence. Then the mayor whispered, "No." Amma Sarwa grabbed her head. No, I can feel it happening again." The world seemed to tilt slightly. Colors dulled. Sounds flattened, thoughts slowed. Then a voice, soft, calm, too calm. "Why are you trying so hard?" They turned, standing behind them, or beside them, or somewhere that didn't make sense. Was something. It didn't have a clear shape. Not smoke, not human, not shadow, just presence. "You don't need fear," it continued gently. "You don't need worry. You don't need anything." Kojo dropped his broom, not dramatically, just forgot to hold it. Amma Surwa took a step back. "You're the one." "I am nothing," it replied, and somehow that felt true. The mayor tried to speak, but the words didn't line up properly. You took something. "I remove what burdens you," it said. "Fear is a burden. Meaning is a burden. Thought is a burden." Mr. Bediako's knees nearly gave way. "If you remove everything, what's left?" A pause, then the thing answered. "Peace." And for a brief, terrifying moment, that sounded appealing. No fear, no confusion, no stress, just nothing. Kojo's eyes glazed slightly.
That sounds
easy. Amma Sarwa shook her head violently.
No?
No, something is wrong with that. But her voice sounded far away. The presence moved closer. "It was hard to tell you were tired," it whispered. "Let go." The world dimmed further. Reasons disappeared. Like it belonged to someone else. Or maybe they moved closer to it.
Until
a scream tore through the clearing. Loud. Sharp.
Angry.
Stop. Everything snapped. The air rushed back. Color returned. Thoughts crashed into place. Standing at the edge of the clearing was fear, not as a shadow, not as a whisper, but as something real, something shaking, something furious. "You don't get to erase them," fear shouted. The presence stilled. "You ran," it said calmly. "Yes," fear snapped. "Because you don't scare people, you delete them." The two forces faced each other, one trembling, one completely still. The villagers huddled together, suddenly very aware again. Kojo picked up his broom slowly. "I miss this feeling," he whispered. Amma Sarwa nodded.
Me too.
Fear turned to them briefly. "You shouldn't be here." The mayor swallowed. "We came to find you." Fear blinked. "Why?" Mr. Bediako straightened. Because we need you. That surprised Fear. You need me?
It repeated.
Yes, Amasarwa said firmly. You may be annoying, stressful, and very dramatic, Kojo added, and sometimes unnecessary. But without you, she continued, we forget who we are.
Silence.
Even the presence didn't interrupt. Fear looked at them, really looked, and for the first time, it stood a little taller. Behind them, the presence spoke again. They don't need you, it said. They can rest. Fear turned slowly. No, it said ... They can live. The air tightened. The ground seemed to hold its breath. And for the first time, the thing that scared Fear paused. The pause was small, so small it could have been ignored, but in Chromatum, where even silence had started behaving suspiciously, that pause felt like a drumbeat. Fear stood in front of the villagers, still trembling, still unsure, but no longer running. The presence remained as it was. Calm.
Unmoved.
Unbothered. I can take it all away, it said softly. Their worries, their confusion, their pain. Even you. Fear let out a shaky laugh. That's the problem. You don't take pain away, you take everything. The villagers watched, barely breathing, because now they understood. This wasn't a fight between good and evil. It was a fight between something messy and something empty. And for the first time in their lives, messy didn't look so bad. Kojo leaned toward Amasarwa and whispered, if we survive this, I am never complaining about being scared again. Amasarwa nodded. You will complain. Yes, Kojo admitted. But with respect, the presence shifted slightly. You're all tired, it repeated, voice smooth as still water. Why struggle to think, to feel, to fear, when you can simply not? And again, for just a second, that idea slipped into their minds like a comfortable lie. No pressure, no fear, no responsibility, just nothing. Even the wind slowed, as if considering it. Fear noticed, and this time, it didn't hesitate. It stepped forward. Don't listen to it, Fear shouted. You think I enjoy what I do? You think I like making your hearts race and your hands shake? Kojo muttered, sometimes you overdo it, honestly. Fear ignored him. I exist because you care. It continued. You're afraid because things matter. You're scared because you don't want to lose, don't want to fail, don't want to disappear. The villagers blinked, because that made uncomfortable sense. The presence spoke again. Caring causes pain. Yes, Fear snapped. And that's the point. That sentence landed like thunder. Amasarwa stepped forward now, and without caring, she said, voice steady, what are we? The presence didn't answer immediately, because for the first time, there wasn't an obvious answer. Mr. Bediako adjusted his stance. Fear makes me double-check things. Kojo raised his broom. Fear makes me run when I see trouble. Or sometimes when I just imagine it. Amasarwa smiled faintly. Fear reminds me my life can go wrong, which means it can also go right. The mayor took a deep breath. Fear makes things matter. Silence. The presence flickered. Just slightly, like a thought it couldn't fully process. You choose discomfort, it said slowly. No, Fear replied. They choose to be alive. And something changed. Not loudly, not dramatically,
but deeply.
The villagers stood a little straighter. Their thoughts felt heavier but clearer. Their hearts beat faster but stronger. And Fear stopped shaking for the first time since anyone could remember. Fear looked confident. The presence moved again, its edges blurring. I can still remove this, it said. All of it, Fear nodded.
I know.
Then it turned to the villagers. This part. I can't do alone, Kojo blinked. Wait, what part?
Fear took a breath.
You have to choose to keep me. Silence. Amasarwa frowned. Choose. Fear? Yes, Fear said. Not all the time. Not too much, but enough. Enough to remember ... enough to care. The presence grew still again, waiting, because this was the real moment. Not a fight, not a battle. A decision. The mayor looked at the others. Kojo looked at his broom. Amasarwa looked at her. Empty spoon. Mr. Bidioko looked at his unreliable radio in the distance. All the small things, all the annoying things, all the uncertain things, and somehow they felt important again. Ama Serwa stepped forward first. I choose to care, she said. Kojo followed. I choose to be scared. Small, Mr. Bediako nodded. I choose to worry just enough. The mayor raised his voice. We choose fear. The words echoed not loudly, but strongly, and in that moment, the presence faltered. Not violently, not angrily, just. Uncertain, you choose burden, it whispered. Fear smiled, they choose meaning. The air shifted, the heaviness lifted, not completely, but enough. Colors brightened, sounds returned, the clearing felt real again. The presence flickered one last time, then slowly, gently. It began to fade, not defeated, not destroyed, just. No longer needed, I will remain where I am, welcomed, it said quietly, and then it was gone. Gone in the same way it had taken things, without noise, without drama, just absence. For a long moment, nobody spoke, then Kojo exhaled loudly. I suddenly remember everything I was worried about, Amasurwa laughed. Me too, Mr. Bediako shook his head. My radio is still wrong, the mayor smiled. Good, they all turned to fear. Coming back? I'll try not to overdo it. Amasurwa pointed her spoon at it. Please. Balance. The walk back to Crematum felt different. Not easier, not harder, just fuller. By evening, the town returned to its rhythm. Doors remained unlocked. Goats danced badly. Roosters crowed without permission. And at exactly 6:13 p.m., fear arrived. Right on time. Amasurwa felt her heart race slightly as her stew almost burned. Kojo hesitated before greeting a suspiciously friendly stranger. Mr. Bidiako argued with his radio again, and the mayor checked his reflection. Just once. Everything was normal again, perfectly imperfect. Later that night, under the mango tree, Kojo looked up at the sky. You know, he said, I think I understand now. Understand what? Amasurwa asked. Kojo smiled. Fear isn't the enemy.
He paused.
It's just a loud reminder that we're alive. The wind passed gently through the tree. Not cold, not heavy, just right. And somewhere, far beyond the edges of thought, something quiet remained. Waiting, not gone forever, but no longer in charge. Because in Chromatum, they had chosen something better, not peace without feeling, but life with all of it. And that was enough. The end.